I grew up in a home where we had enough. Enough to be comfortable. Enough to feel okay. But money was never discussed. It was just there. Or it wasn't. And either way, we didn't talk about it. Nobody explained how it worked. Nobody showed me how to grow it, how to protect it, or how to make it grow while I slept. And so I walked into my 20s completely blind, thinking that having enough was the goal. But enough isn't freedom. Enough is just surviving with a smile on your face. So if that resonated with you right now, if you've ever felt like money is something that just happens to you and not something that you control, then this episode is for you, my friend. Welcome back to the show. I am so glad that you're here. Whether you're driving, walking, washing dishes, or just sitting somewhere quiet trying to make sense of your life, wherever you are, I am so glad you chose to spend this time with me. Today's episode is one I've wanted to make for a long time because it's personal. It's about money, but not in the way you would expect. This is not about spreadsheets or a stock portfolio. This is about a conversation that nobody had with me growing up, and I'm guessing nobody had it with you either. These are the 7 money lessons that I wish someone had sat me down and told me in my 20s. Let's get into it. Lesson 1 is comfort is not the same as security. Growing up comfortable taught me a dangerous lesson, that things would always be okay, that money would always show up, that the bills will always get paid. And so I never learned to plan. I never learned to question. I never learned to build. I just assumed. But comfort and security are not the same thing. Comfort is what you feel today. Security is what protects you tomorrow. And the longer you live in comfort without building security, the more vulnerable you become. Financial security doesn't come from how much you earn. It comes from how intentional you are with what you do with it. Warren Buffett said, "Do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving." And that one line alone completely changed how I thought about money. The moment I stopped treating saving as an afterthought and actually treated it as the first decision, everything changed. So this week, I want you to open a second account. And I want you to name it something that excites you, like your freedom fund, your future self account, or your peace of mind, right? And automatically transfer, even if it's just $25, into that account every payday. Make saving a habit before you even have a chance to spend that money. Don't confuse a calm life with a stable one, right? Don't let comfort become complacency. Don't wait for a crisis to start taking your finances seriously. Your future self is watching what you're doing right now. Lesson 2. Silence about money is its own kind of debt. In my house, we didn't talk about money, not what we earned, not what we owed, and not what anything cost. It was just handled quietly behind closed doors. And I carried that silence into adulthood. And when I got married, I avoided money conversations with my spouse. I didn't talk to my friends about money. I didn't ask questions. And I pretended that I knew more than I did. And that silence was expensive. Studies in financial psychology show that people who openly discuss money with partners, friends, and mentors, they make better financial decisions and experience significantly less financial anxiety. Talking about money is not awkward. Avoiding it actually is the awkward thing. The conversations that you're too embarrassed to have today are costing you compound interest tomorrow. Susie Orman said, "The only way you would ever permanently take control of your financial life is to dig deep and fix the root problem." And for so many of us, the root problem is the silence that we inherited. So here's what you're going to do. Have one honest conversation this week with a friend, a partner, or even just yourself. You can write it down in a journal. Write down 3 numbers: what you earn, what you spend, and what you save. Just seeing it on paper is going to break the silence. So don't stay quiet about money and expect your relationship with it to change. Don't pretend you have it figured out when you don't. Don't let embarrassment be more expensive than education. Lesson 3. You don't have an income problem. You have a priority problem. For years, I told myself, when I earn more money, I'll sort it out. When I get that raise, when I get that promotion, when I have more to work with. Does that sound familiar? Here's a brutal truth. More money without better habits just means more money going into the same places it always went. Research consistently shows that it's not the income level, but the financial behavior that predicts long-term wealth. People who earn $40,000 and budget intentionally build more wealth than people who earn $100,000 and spend without awareness. It's not about the number coming in. It is about the decisions being made. Jim Rohn said, "Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune." The most valuable financial investment I ever made wasn't in stocks or a master's degree. It was spending time learning how money actually works. Here's what I want you to do. Look at your last 30 days of spending and put it into 3 buckets: needs, wants, and savings. That way, you can see where your money is actually going, because you cannot change what you cannot see. Don't wait until you earn more to start caring. Don't spend to look successful while feeling stressed. Don't tell yourself the numbers are too small to matter. Every habit you build now is a foundation for what comes next. Lesson 4. Debt is not the enemy. Ignorance is. Nobody taught me the difference between good debt and bad debt. Nobody explained what an APR actually meant. Nobody walked me through what compound interest looks like when it's working against you. So I did what most people do. I avoided it all. I didn't look at the fine print. I didn't ask the questions. I just signed and hoped for the best. But here's what I've learned. Debt isn't the monster we're told it is. It is a tool. And like any tool, it depends entirely on whether you understand how to use it. A mortgage can build long-term wealth. A credit card used strategically builds your credit score. Student loans can be structured and managed. The danger is not the debt itself. The danger is going in blind. Robert Kiyosaki said, "It is not how much money you make, but how much money you keep, how hard it works for you, and how many generations you keep it for." Understanding debt is step 1 in making money work for you instead of against you. So I want you to pick one debt you have right now, whether it's a credit card, a student loan, or a car payment. Spend 15 minutes truly understanding it this week. What is the interest rate? What is the payoff timeline? What would happen if you pay an extra $50 a month? Don't avoid what you owe. Don't treat all your debt as the same monster. And also, don't let shame keep you from getting informed. The most empowering thing you can do is understand where you stand. Lesson 5. Your lifestyle is a choice. Make it consciously. In my late 20s, I watched people around me upgrading their lives. Nicer apartments, newer cars, better holidays, and I felt it down to my bones. The pressure to keep up, the pressure to look the part, to spend at the level of the life that I wanted and be flashy. And for a while I did. I confused lifestyle with wealth. But here's what nobody tells you. The more your lifestyle grows without your income growing first, the more trapped you become. There's even a term for this: golden handcuffs, where you're locked into a life you can't walk away from because you have expenses that demand a certain income. You end up staying in jobs you hate, relationships you've outgrown, and cities that don't light you up anymore, all because you can't afford to choose differently. Maya Angelou said, "If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude." Here's what I'll add to that. If you can't afford to change it, then start building the financial freedom that gives you the choice to do so. So, I want you to look at your monthly expenses and ask honestly, which of these are bringing me real joy? And how many of these are just me keeping up with appearances? This way you can cancel or pause things that truly don't serve you and redirect that money into your future. Don't build a life you cannot afford to live. Don't spend to impress people who are not paying your bills. Don't let lifestyle inflation steal your option. Because the goal is not to look free. The goal is to actually be free. Lesson 6. The stories you inherited are running your bank account. Here is something I had to sit with. I didn't choose my money beliefs. They were handed to me from watching how money moved or didn't move in my home, from the things that were said and the things that weren't, from the collective stories that my family had about what money meant and who got to have it. Psychologists call this cognitive money scripts, the unconscious beliefs that we carry about money that were formed in childhood, and they drive our adult financial behavior. And the tricky part is, most of us don't even know we have them. We just wonder why we self-sabotage, why we overspend when we're stressed, why we feel guilty when we save, why earning more never seems to feel like enough. T. Harv Eker said, "Your money blueprint is not set in stone. You can change it." And that is the most hopeful thing that I can tell you today. The story you started with is not the story you have to end with. Growing up poor doesn't mean you have to stay poor. So do yourself a solid and write down 3 things you heard about money growing up. Maybe it's "we can't afford that," or "money changes people," or "money is evil." And then write down next to each one, "Is this true for me? Is this my reality?" And then rewrite one belief today. Instead of "money is complicated," try "money is a skill that I'm learning." Don't let somebody else's fear become your ceiling. Don't carry financial shame that was never yours to begin with. Don't accept a money story just because it's familiar. You can rewrite it starting now. Lesson 7. Generosity is a financial strategy and not just a value. This one might surprise you because when we think about building wealth, we think about holding on, keeping more, spending less. But what I've discovered is that the people who have the healthiest relationship with money are almost always generous people. Not because they give it all away, but because generosity shifts your entire relationship with abundance. Psychology research shows that people who give intentionally, even small amounts, report higher life satisfaction, lower financial anxiety, and a stronger sense of abundance. When you give by choice and not out of fear, you show to yourself that you're not living in scarcity, that there's enough, and that belief becomes self-fulfilling. Winston Churchill said, "We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give." I think about that every time I'm tempted to hoard instead of share, because more money doesn't have to make you harder. It can make you more of who you already are if you let it. So, as you plan on making more money, I challenge you to give a little of what you already have. It doesn't have to be money. It could be a skill, a recommendation, or whatever it is that you can share with others. Don't wait until you have enough to start giving. Don't confuse being frugal with being afraid either. So, here's what I want to leave you today, and I really want you to hear this. You're not behind. You're not broken. You are not bad with money. You were just raised in a home where money was just never talked about and never taught, where enough was the ceiling and not the floor. And now you know differently. And knowing differently means you can do differently. You can stop inheriting stories and start writing your own. You can stop avoiding your bank account and start being in charge of every number in it. You can build security and not just comfort. You can talk about money like it matters because it does. So pick one lesson from today, just one, and do one thing this week that moves you towards it. Because wealth is not built in a moment. It is built in the daily decisions that most people never think to make. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it. Send it to a friend who needs to hear this. And also, I want to know what lesson landed the hardest for you. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and leave a review. It genuinely means the world to me, and it helps the show reach all the people who need it the most. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. I'll be back next week with another episode. And until then, take care of yourself. I'm Fawani, and you got this.